Ladies, let me tell you something loud and clear. You set the standard for how you are treated. If you want to be treated like a queen, you have to start acting like one. But being a queen isn't about demanding respect. It's about embodying it. The way you see yourself sets the standard for how others treat you. It all begins with your self-worth. What you believe about yourself, how you carry yourself, and the energy you bring into a room. If you don't recognize your own value, how can you expect anyone else to? If you second-guess your worth, people will mirror that doubt. But when you walk into a space knowing exactly who you are, knowing that you are deserving of love, respect, and admiration, people will respond to that energy. Think about the most powerful, confident women you admire. They don't seek validation from anyone. And that's precisely why they command attention. They don't ask for permission to be great, they simply embody it. And that's the key. You must become someone who knows she is enough, even before anyone tells her she is. This isn't about arrogance. It's about quiet, unshakable confidence. It's about looking in the mirror and seeing someone worthy of everything she desires: respect, love, success, and fulfillment. Many women make the mistake of waiting for someone else to affirm their worth. They think, once he treats me like a queen, then I'll feel like one. But that's completely backward. No one outside of you can give you the self-worth you lack internally. If you don't believe in your own greatness, you'll accept treatment that falls short of what you deserve. You'll make excuses for bad behavior, tolerate disrespect, and settle for less than you desire because deep down, you don't truly believe you're worthy of more. But when you know your worth, you don't tolerate anything less than excellence. You don't waste time on people who don't see your value. You don't entertain half-hearted efforts or accept crumbs when you deserve the whole feast. You walk away from situations that don't serve you, not out of bitterness, but because you refuse to be anywhere you are not valued. Knowing your worth isn't just about relationships. It applies to every area of your life. It's in how you demand fair treatment in your career, how you set boundaries with friends and family, and how you prioritize your own well-being. A woman who knows her worth doesn't put herself last. She doesn't overextend herself to please others at the expense of her own happiness. She understands that she is just as important as anyone else, and she acts accordingly. Men, in particular, respond to a woman who knows her value. A woman who carries herself with confidence and self-respect naturally commands admiration. She doesn't need to beg for attention or prove her worth. Her energy speaks for itself. Men are drawn to women who exude self-assurance, not those who constantly seek reassurance. When you respect yourself, you set the tone for how others treat you. A man will rise to the level of expectation you set. If you expect to be cherished, he will cherish you. If you allow disrespect, he will continue to disrespect you. This doesn't mean you have to be cold or unapproachable. It simply means you hold yourself to a standard and you don't compromise on that standard. A woman who knows her worth is kind but firm. She loves deeply, but she doesn't lose herself in the process. She is nurturing, but she's not a doormat. She is strong, but she doesn't feel the need to prove it by being combative. She simply is, and that is enough. The most important thing to understand is that knowing your worth is not a one-time realization. It's a daily practice. Every day you make choices that reinforce your value or diminish it. Every time you accept less than you deserve, you send a message to yourself and others that you're willing to settle. Every time you stand up for yourself, prioritize your happiness, and refuse to accept anything less than respect, you reinforce your worth. So start today. Start by looking in the mirror and affirming who you are. Start by making choices that align with the person you want to be. Start by letting go of anything that makes you question your worth. Because when you know your worth, truly and unapologetically, the world has no choice but to acknowledge it too. A strong, independent woman commands respect because she does not rely on anyone else to define her worth. She builds her own identity, creates her own path, and refuses to be reduced to a supporting role in someone else's story. When you have your own identity, your own dreams, passions, and ambitions, you become someone who cannot be ignored. You are not just an extension of someone else, you are a force of your own. Too often, women lose themselves in relationships, careers, or societal expectations. They shrink themselves to fit into molds that others have designed for them, thinking that if they become more agreeable, more accommodating, or less intimidating, they will be loved and accepted. But in reality, the world does not respect those who make themselves small. The world respects those who stand tall in their truth, who know who they are and refuse to apologize for it. A woman who has her own identity does not fear being alone because she knows that her value is not tied to anyone else's presence in her life. This is why independence is so powerful. When you are financially independent, emotionally secure, and mentally strong, you are not easily swayed by others. You do not tolerate disrespect because you do not need anyone to survive. You choose the people in your life not out of desperation but out of genuine desire. That choice makes all the difference. People, especially men, treat you differently when they know you do not need them but instead want them in your life. That want is a privilege, not a necessity, and that is what sets queens apart. But having your own identity is not just about independence. It is about self-awareness. Who are you beyond your relationships? What do you stand for? What excites you? What are your goals outside of anyone else's expectations? These are the questions that define a strong woman. When you have a clear sense of self, you make decisions based on your values rather than seeking approval. You walk into rooms with confidence because you're not trying to be someone else. You are fully and unapologetically yourself, and that authenticity is magnetic. Confidence alone is not enough. You must also set clear boundaries. What you allow is what will continue. If you let people take advantage of you, they will. If you tolerate inconsistency, you will keep receiving it. If you make excuses for bad behavior, it will never stop. Setting boundaries is not about being difficult. It is about protecting your peace, energy, and self-respect. People who truly care about you will respect your boundaries, while those who don't were never meant to stay. Boundaries are not just about saying no, they are about defining what you will and will not accept in every area of your life. They apply to relationships, friendships, work, and even family. It is not selfish to demand respect, it is necessary. A woman without boundaries will always be at the mercy of others, constantly bending to accommodate people who do not reciprocate the same effort. But a woman with boundaries commands admiration because she values herself enough to say, "This is what I deserve, and I will not settle for anything less." When you set boundaries, you filter out those who are not meant for you. The right people will honor your standards while the wrong ones will fall away. And that is a blessing. Boundaries are how you teach people how to treat you. If you accept last-minute plans, you will always be an afterthought. If you let people speak to you disrespectfully without consequence, they will never change. If you allow dishonesty, you will continue to be lied to. It is not about controlling others, it is about controlling what you accept. And here's the truth. People, especially men, respect women who respect themselves. A man will never see you as a queen if you allow yourself to be treated like a servant. He will only rise to the level of expectation you set. If you require consistency, honesty, and effort, the right man will step up. If you allow games, manipulation, and inconsistency, the wrong ones will take advantage. It is that simple. When you have a strong identity and clear boundaries, you create a life where you are in control. You are not waiting for validation, not tolerating less, and not apologizing for knowing your worth. And when you live this way, the world, especially the men in it, has no choice but to treat you like the queen you are. The way you carry yourself and communicate with confidence shapes how others perceive and treat you. When you speak with certainty, people listen. When you express yourself with clarity and conviction, you leave no room for doubt. Confidence is not about being the loudest in the room or overpowering others. It is about knowing your own mind, owning your truth, and not being afraid to express it. A woman who communicates with confidence does not hesitate when she speaks. She does not shrink her voice to make others comfortable, nor does she feel the need to justify her choices excessively. She states her thoughts with assurance because she believes in herself. Men are drawn to women who speak with purpose. When you articulate your thoughts clearly, set expectations firmly, and express your desires without hesitation, you show that you are someone who demands and deserves respect. In contrast, when you communicate with uncertainty, constantly second-guess yourself or downplay your own opinions, you send a message that you are unsure of your worth. And if you are unsure, others will be too. Speaking with confidence does not mean being aggressive or dismissive. It means being direct, honest, and firm in a way that commands respect rather than demands it. But confidence in communication is not just about how you speak, it is also about how you carry yourself. Your body language, eye contact, posture, and tone all contribute to the message you send. A woman who walks with her head held high, makes steady eye contact, and speaks with calm assurance is naturally seen as someone of value. She does not fidget, avoid eye contact, or hesitate excessively because she knows that she deserves to be heard. She takes up space unapologetically, and that presence alone shifts the way people treat her. Speaking with confidence also means being comfortable with silence. A confident woman does not feel the need to over-explain, justify her boundaries, or fill every pause with nervous chatter. She says what she means and allows it to stand on its own. She does not beg for understanding because she knows that those who respect her will listen. When you master the art of confident communication, you naturally command admiration. And however, confidence alone is not enough. You must also understand the power of attraction. Many women make the mistake of chasing validation, love, or attention, thinking that the more they give, the more they will receive. But queens do not chase, they attract. They embody energy that draws people in rather than running after those who do not recognize their worth. Attraction is about being, not pursuing. It is about carrying yourself in a way that makes people want to be around you, not because you are trying to impress them, but because you exude self-assurance, joy, and purpose. A woman who attracts rather than chases does not waste time convincing someone to see her value. She knows her value and allows the right people to recognize it on their own. She does not plead for attention or settle for breadcrumbs of affection. She does not rearrange her life to fit into someone else's. Instead, she focuses on herself, on her growth, happiness, and fulfillment. And in doing so, she naturally draws people towards her. Attraction is about energy. The more you radiate confidence, self-respect, and joy, the more others will want to be in your presence. This is why self-care is non-negotiable. The way you treat yourself teaches others how to treat you. If you prioritize your well-being, nurture your mind and body, and invest in your own happiness, others will follow that example. But if you neglect yourself, constantly put others before your own needs, and allow yourself to be drained, you set a precedent that your needs do not matter. And if you do not value yourself enough to prioritize self-care, why should anyone else? Self-care is not just about spa days or pampering. It is about showing yourself the love and respect you expect from others. It is about setting boundaries, saying no when necessary, and making time for things that bring you joy. It is about resting when you need to, surrounding yourself with people who uplift you, and refusing to entertain anything that drains your energy. A woman who takes care of herself physically, emotionally, and mentally sends a clear message: I am valuable. And I will not settle for anything that does not honor that value. When you communicate with confidence, attract rather than chase, and make self-care a priority, you transform the way people, especially men, perceive and treat you. You become someone who commands admiration effortlessly, not because you demand it, but because you live in a way that makes it undeniable. The way you carry yourself sets the standard for how others treat you. If you want to be respected, you must first respect yourself. Confidence is not about arrogance. It is about self-assurance. It is about knowing who you are, what you deserve, and never settling for less. When you communicate with confidence, people listen. When you walk into a room with presence, people take notice. And when you express yourself with clarity and conviction, you leave no room for doubt. A woman who speaks with certainty does not hesitate or seek permission. She owns her voice. She does not shrink herself to make others comfortable, nor does she apologize for having opinions. She states her truth with assurance, and that alone commands respect. But confidence is not just about words. It is about body language, tone, and energy. The way you stand, the way you make eye contact, the way you move, all of it sends a message. A woman who walks with her head high, shoulders back, and steady steps is seen as someone of value. She does not fidget, avoid eye contact, or hesitate excessively. She moves with intention, knowing she belongs in every space she steps into. She does not lower her voice when expressing her thoughts, nor does she rush to fill silences with nervous chatter. She speaks and allows her words to stand. She is comfortable with pauses, with letting her presence do the work. And in that silence, people listen. Attraction is not about chasing, it is about energy. A woman who knows her worth does not run after anyone, begging for love or validation. Instead, she attracts through her confidence, presence, and self-respect. She does not settle for breadcrumbs, nor does she entertain inconsistency. She moves through life with purpose, focused on her own growth, passions, and happiness. And in doing so, she naturally draws people in. Those who recognize her value will step up, while those who do not will fall away. That is the power of attraction. It is effortless. It is not about proving yourself, it is about embodying a standard that others must rise to meet. A woman who attracts rather than chases does not tolerate mixed signals or half-hearted efforts. She does not make excuses for people who cannot meet her standards. She understands that real interest is clear and real effort is consistent. She does not settle for potential or wait for someone to change. Instead, she focuses on being the best version of herself, knowing that the right people will recognize and appreciate her without games. She does not convince anyone to see her worth because she knows her worth is not up for debate. Self-care is not a luxury, it is a necessity. The way you treat yourself teaches others how to treat you. If you constantly put yourself last, people will assume that your needs are not important. If you neglect yourself, you give others permission to do the same. But when you prioritize your well-being physically, emotionally, and mentally, you set a standard. You send a message that you are valuable and that value must be honored. Self-care is about more than just pampering. It is about boundaries, about saying no when needed, about surrounding yourself with people who uplift rather than drain you. It is about choosing relationships, environments, and habits that nourish your soul instead of depleting it. A woman who takes care of herself radiates a different energy. She does not seek external validation because she validates herself. She does not wait for someone to make her feel special because she already knows she is. She does not beg for love because she gives love to herself first. And that level of self-respect is what makes her magnetic. People, especially men, can sense when a woman values herself, and they will treat her accordingly. But none of this matters if you do not set clear boundaries. What you allow is what will continue. If you let people take advantage of you, they will. If you tolerate inconsistency, you will keep receiving it. If you make excuses for bad behavior, it will never stop. Boundaries are not about pushing people away, they are about protecting your peace. They define what you will and will not accept. They teach others how to treat you, and they filter out those who are not meant for you. When you have strong boundaries, you do not entertain anything that does not align with your self-worth. You do not justify why you deserve basic respect. You do not accept apologies without changed behavior. You do not stay in situations that make you feel small. A woman with boundaries does not argue for her worth. She simply walks away from anything that does not honor it. And in doing so, she commands respect. When you speak with confidence, attract rather than chase, prioritize self-care, and set clear boundaries, you elevate yourself. You create a life where respect, admiration, and love are not things you have to beg for. They are things that naturally come to you because you have set the standard. The world and the people in it will always treat you the way you treat yourself. So if you want to be treated like a queen, start acting like one. The way you see yourself sets the foundation for how others treat you. If you believe you are worthy of love, respect, and admiration, you will naturally attract people who see that in you. But if you doubt your worth, tolerate mistreatment, or shrink yourself to fit into someone else's expectations, you send a message that you are willing to accept less than you deserve. The truth is, no one else can determine your value. You do. When you carry yourself with confidence, prioritize your happiness, and refuse to settle, the world has no choice but to recognize your worth. A woman who knows her value does not need external validation. She does not wait for someone to tell her she is beautiful, smart, or capable. She already knows. She walks into every room with an energy that says, I belong here. And that energy is magnetic. People are naturally drawn to those who exude self-assurance, and men, in particular, admire women who know what they bring to the table. When you respect yourself, you set the tone for how others will treat you. Attraction is never about chasing. It is about energy. A woman who is comfortable in her own skin, focused on her own growth, and committed to her own happiness radiates a presence that is impossible to ignore. She does not seek validation because she is already complete. She does not need to prove herself because she knows her worth is not up for debate. That level of self-assurance changes the way men approach you. Instead of entertaining half-hearted efforts, you naturally attract those who are willing to meet your standards. Instead of chasing after attention, you become someone who effortlessly commands it. But confidence and attraction mean nothing without boundaries. What you allow is what will continue. If you tolerate disrespect, inconsistency, or dishonesty, you will continue to receive it. But when you set clear boundaries, you filter out those who are not meant for you. A woman with strong boundaries does not beg for love or attention. She does not explain why she deserves respect. She simply walks away from anything that does not align with her standards. She understands that true love and admiration come from those who are willing to respect the space she has created for herself. Boundaries are not about pushing people away. They are about defining what you will and will not accept. They are about protecting your energy, your peace, and your self-worth. When you have clear boundaries, you do not entertain mixed signals, tolerate excuses, or settle for less than you deserve. You teach people how to treat you by the way you treat yourself. And when you hold yourself to a high standard, others will either rise to meet it or remove themselves from your life. Either way, you win. A woman who values herself does not beg for attention. She attracts it naturally. And one of the most powerful ways to attract the right energy is through self-care. How you treat yourself sets the foundation for how others treat you. If you prioritize your physical, emotional, and mental well-being, you send a message that you are someone who deserves to be cared for. But if you neglect yourself, put everyone else first, and accept neglect from others, you set a precedent that your needs do not matter. Self-care is not selfish, it is essential. It is a declaration of self-worth, a reminder that you are important, and a commitment to never settling for anything less than you deserve. Self-care is more than just spa days and relaxation. It is about setting boundaries, walking away from toxic situations, and choosing environments that nourish rather than drain you. It is about making time for your passions, surrounding yourself with people who uplift you, and investing in your own happiness. When you prioritize yourself, you naturally attract those who will prioritize you too. The world mirrors the energy you put out, and when you treat yourself with love and respect, others will follow. A woman who embodies confidence, attraction, boundaries, and self-care commands admiration. She does not seek approval, she is the standard. She does not chase love, it finds her. She does not beg for respect, she demands it through her presence. And when you operate from that place of power, men will not only treat you like a queen, but they will feel privileged to do so.